Chun Ling. They kind of a bit difficult to understand. And especially my Chun Ling, the Ling, a bit feminine. So that's why I don't like people to call me Chun Ling. And some who knows these computer games in the past, there's one Chun Li. We are the same generation. So that's why I kind of like just people call me Dr. Joshua, Dr. Yu. But in the hospital, most of my colleagues call me Dr. Yu. And in the clinic as well. And Joshua is not in my IC. So I can call me Dr. Joshua, you can call me Joshua, you can call me Dr. Yu. But in outside there, probably you will know me, many will know me by Dr. Yu. And this EU is in Greek. In Greek, EU means normal. So I'm Dr. Normal, okay? So, and I'm not Dr. Strange, I'm not the Marvel Dr. Strange. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share in your church here today. It's a privilege to be able to share. And yeah, I'm getting used to all the things here. So I'm serving in UKM Hospital. It was previously called as HUKM, then called PPUKM, the Pusat Perubatan UKM. Now they changed the name to HCTM, Hospital Chancellor Tuanku Mukhlis, after the Sultans of Seremban, Negeri Sembilan. So now it's HCTM UKM. So I am still practicing there. Even though I'm in a transition to come out to private practice soon. So been there since 2009 as a house officer at that time. I joined the psychiatry department since 2011. And then from there, journey towards becoming a psychiatrist. And 2019 was a psychiatrist then, and continued to serve. So it has been almost 15, 16 years now. So today, what are we going to do? This is my family. My family, my wife. So I've joined the Durano Father School. So it's kind of like we are trained to have to share a bit about our family. So my wife, Jean, some of you might know her. So she is a very supportive wife. Very understanding. So in Chinese we say 肚子里面的蛔虫. So the worms in my tummy. So even I wiggle a bit, she will know something is wrong with you. So she knows what I'm thinking, and she has been really, really supportive and helpful through my life. So we are blessed with two boys, 9 years old and 9 and 7. After 12 years of we can call it infertility, 12 years of silence. God didn't answer our prayer for almost 12 years. So eventually we have these two, in Malay called Cahaya Mata. So, memang Cahaya Mata. Look at it, I felt, wow, delighted. So, the elder one is Joseph. He is more extrovert, always thinking of activities. Papa, I want to go fishing. Papa, I want to learn this, I want to learn that. So he's very extrovert. The second one is very introvert. So he could spend time reading, and now he's reading flags. So whatever country's flags of every country, he would want to know. So I think it's very different. One might be more businessman, maybe. The other one maybe pastor, maybe missionary. Wow, this is a father's dream. Who knows? But it will be in God's hand. Okay. So this is my family. So today we will be kind of having a bit of talk and a bit of discussion among yourselves, a bit of chit-chatting among yourselves about the topic that I'm going to present. So the first part will be about 20 minutes, and the second part will be a bit of discussion among yourselves, about 10 minutes, and then we'll follow by another 30 minutes of longer, a bit more heavy talk on different types of mental conditions, and eventually it will be Q&A. So altogether would be about an hour plus. Okay, ready? So do put your phone into the silent mode, and then you could save some of the questions to the Q&A. Usually I prepare some quizzes, and I have some surprise. This is from Sevier, so some of you might be a bit familiar. Yeah, so different companies, okay, not only one same company, okay, have to be fair, yeah. So, but they have good materials for education, so public education. Okay. So, what is part one? The first part that I'm going to embark into is talking about loving yourself. So we all familiar with this verse, these verses in Matthew 22, 34 to 40, when Jesus answered to the questions by a lawyer about which is the most important commandments. And Jesus went through and said that you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. We are familiar with that. And this is the great and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor. We all understand that. But there are not much to say about this as yourself. It's as if everyone would know that loving our neighbor as ourselves or as yourself is kind of something logical, something natural, and it doesn't need any extra explanations. And as I was preparing, I was looking for some, further explanations on these verses, and many has felt the same, that there was no expounding of this particular as yourself in the even among the scholars. And why is it so? Later we will talk more about this. And then the Bible said, on these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets. So today our focus would be kind of like structured in this loving yourself, knowing how to have our self-care. And the second part will be loving our neighbors, how to help our friends and our family members, those who we think that needs help, as those our neighbors, in the perspective of mental health. Okay. So, part one, as yourself. I am controlling two computers at one time. Yeah. So, too fast. Yeah. Okay. I changed it here. I didn't change it there. No wonder. Yeah, but it's okay. So, what is mental health? So, mental health, according to the WHO, it actually has a definition. Yeah. So, mental health is a state of well-being. Mental health is a state of well-being in which individuals realizes their abilities, cope with normal stresses, work productively, and contribute to their communities. So let's go through it a little bit in a bit more expanded version. This is from I'm recently listening to Blinkist, this apps, which is kind of like shorted, take the essence of a book and then just tell you in 5 minutes or maybe a bit more, 7 minutes. And I find it extremely helpful because I'm learning new things every day. As you will hear me saying later, learning new things is also part of mental health. You are actually stimulating your brain structurally so that you could actually go into a state of mind where you are stay motivated and interested about the things in your life. And so learning is part of mental health. So I have been learning this, and this is one of the definition given, and I love this definition because it's actually saying that good mental health means feeling fairly confident. He said fairly confident. We don't want overly confident. So fairly confident, humble but confident, and having decent self-esteem. It means being comfortable with experiencing a full range of emotions. So able to experience, or in other words, I would probably like the words able to sit with your emotions, allowing the emotions to come, noticing it, and allowing your emotions to eventually go as well. So noticing and able to experience it. The full range of it, joy, anger, sadness, and everything in between. So also means that you being comfortable to express, to communicate, to say it out, to verbalize it, to put in words those emotions. We Chinese people, or maybe we are Asian, we are more Asian, lack of the capacity or the ability to express ourselves that much. I'm not sure about maybe Chinese a bit more lacking in expression even. Yeah. Would you think so? I find, other people can tell more, but Chinese is a bit reserved. Like this is the traditional, the 儒家思想, the 儒家, I'm not sure in Confucian, the Confucian. So that makes us a bit more vulnerable, honestly, that we are bottling inside and not able to put things in words. And God given us this capacity to have words is actually part of our way to regulate ourselves. So words, or the expressing in words, is so important, either verbally in writing, it is tremendously important. So expressing them, these emotions, and more broadly, good mental health means that you are able to reach your full potential. Various capacity. My full potential might be here, others' full potential might be there, others might be lower, but at least individually we are able to reach to our own capacity of our full potential without being held back by your own thoughts, feelings, and behavior. We'll talk more about thoughts, feelings, and behavior throughout the talk as well, because those are the three main components, the main triangle of a human psyche, in terms of psychology-wise, So learning how to be ability to experience these emotions, sit with them, express it, and during this whole process throughout our life, we are able to kind of live up to the potential, have a meaningful life, and not to be held back by our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Okay. So there is many places in the Bible where we actually have these similar verses, at least 7 of it, which is quite direct. There are others which are kind of like partially similar. So loving thy neighbors as yourself. Here. So self-preservation is a human nature. Don't need to say too much about that. We know it's human nature. Even though when I said so, there are those who at times, the difficult times in their life, that they don't feel like they wanted to take care of themselves. Some even have at certain time in their life that they felt that they don't want to continue living. Even at those times, self-preservation is still in play. Because it is exactly this very life that, probably will explain more later, but it is even at those point of time that self-preservation is still playing a vital role in bringing those people back to their senses many times. Of course, we know sometimes it wasn't that case, So there's a lot of self-care in the Bible. We learn about various times where Jesus retreat to a quiet place to have his morning devotions. He retreat to a quiet place where he would pray to God, and he will ask his disciples to come rest, have some rest after they went out for some ministry. So self-care is being taught a lot in the Bible. And we all know that, especially for myself, if I am not careful with self-care, I would be able to serve, to serve in my capacity. And I would know that if I don't sleep well the day before, the next day in the clinic, I will be a bit like zombie, and then I'll be, and probably sometimes I don't process it, you see. So I've sometimes felt that I'm not being fair. And this doesn't go with psychiatrists. For all doctors, I have other doctors who tell me that, taking a good nap a day before my clinic or my practice is so important. So this is just a small examples, and you will have in your life, you will definitely experience this. If you have good self-care, you will be more productive and you'll be able to do a better job in your life. I mean, in your professions or carrying out your responsibility better. So taking care of yourself, make yourself able to be more productive, and at the same time, that's why you are able to serve others better. So this is the flow that I'm trying to lead you to, and slowly we will go along with this. And self-care is not selfish, right? It's not selfish. Because with this flow, we are taking care of ourselves so that we could serve others better. So we are not taking care of ourselves so that's all, the full stop. The Bible concept is love thy neighbor as yourself. And we know Jesus has went further than that when he gave up his life for us. He has went even one step further. And in our human history, we saw that as well. We could saw those who sacrificed themselves for their children. In certain situations, I don't have any story that I could pluck out, but there are. Asking myself, I once told in the church when I was sharing, I said, because after 12 years of having no children, then I have my firstborn, I told the church that I would be willing to die 100 times for him if I am put into a situation where I have to give up my life. So everyone was laughing, some were cheering, but I asked myself back after 9 years, perhaps I would still do the same thing, because even though sometimes he became a bit more rebellious now, and I sometimes get very geram, but that probably when it comes to a state where I have to make that choice, I would still be willing to go beyond just loving myself and loving others, to just to preserve his life. And that would be a bit out of topic, I think, but it's relevant as well. So now, caring for your mental health, when we think about mental health, we will kind of sometimes we have this dichotomous or separating that mental health is here, physical health is here, and then social health is outside. And then family health is inside the house. So we have this separating kind of concept, but actually mental health encompasses everything. So I want you to understand that it's a whole person. Mental health includes a whole person. So illustrating that, I use this chart. So we have biological self, our body, right? All the physiological things that is going on. We have our psychological, our mind, which is going on that kind of make who we are. And this life is not separated from our environment. We are constantly in interaction with the environment, with the people in our life. So this is the social part of it. And no matter whether you are a Christian or not a Christian, spirituality is there in you, because God has created us as a spiritual being at the same time that we long for meaning in life. We long for purpose in life. So those are things that people, non-believers, will understand as the spirituality. But for us, Christian, we will know that as our faith, what God has called us to do. Those are our purpose. And as we kind of follow his footsteps, those are our meaning in our life. So spirituality will not run away. So we are kind of like these 4 elements: biopsychosocial, spiritual. So this is the 4 areas in our life. So let me kind of go through one by one. Biological. So this is our body affects our mental health. Poor physical health can lead to stress, anxiety, and depression. So We go through one by one. So this is about self-care already. So take care of your physical health. This is number one. I'm not sure later I will give you all a chance to think back on how well are you taking care of your physical health. So in my clinic, I would usually ask, so where are you in taking care of your health in general? So I will go through how to take care of each aspect or each component of your health. And biological is normally the first one because it's the simplest one to start our life with. Like if you have any medical conditions, treat it earlier. If you have hemorrhoids, for example, so irritating, so why leave it for 10 years and 20 years and just continue to bear with it? Why not just go and get consultations and get it dealt with, for example? These small things. Some might have anemia and would just not pay too much attention to it and just leave it as it is. So why just anemia is not something too difficult to treat if it is certain type of anemia, I mean. So physical conditions, if you just go for some checkup, I will encourage normally yearly to go for at least one body checkup. And for those who are 40 years old and above, for those who are below that, if you do not have any medical conditions, maybe once in every 2 years will be good enough. Just treat any medical conditions, find out earlier and treat. Avoid harmful substances and excessive alcohol. This is straightforward. Maintain a healthy sleep-wake cycle and balanced diet. So it's go back to sleep, go back to balanced diet. So won't go too much in details indeed. You will know how balanced your diet is. You will know, but honestly nowadays people are more mindful about healthy diets. I can see now all your faces are very shiny, bright. So all very healthy looking. So good. Nasi lemak, and sleep-wake cycle. So this is probably an issue for young people. I could see the young people are rolling their eyes now, you see. So and not for the young as well, because handphones, gadgets, is really get into way of our sleep. It's actually a pandemic as well in a way. That so many people are kind of like just getting used to it, and this is something that we need to address in our society, to be using less gadgets so that we can preserve more sleep. So sleeping 7 to 8 hours is usually preferred, but as we go older, the total duration of the sleep in a day can be a bit shorter, and it is okay. So it's not necessary to I must have 7 hours, I must have 7 hours. Sometimes for some people, 5 hours of good sleep is good enough. It's okay, Bit of power nap in the daytime is okay, not too long, half an hour, So that's also a good practice if you have this space to do so, Exercise regularly. So I probably don't look like someone who is exercise regularly. Yes, later I will show you self-revelation. I will tell you how balanced is my healthy life. So So in Chinese we call it 反面教材. So how would you say this is the opposite of the right examples yes. The bad examples Okay, so exercise at least 5 times a week. Ideally 7 times a week, which is daily. If you can't at least 5 times a week, then you actually have a tick from the health in terms of, for me, a tick. So each time, at least a good 20 minutes of exercise, not including the warm up. So at least a good 20 minutes of exercise. So if you could do that, according to your capacity and your age and your health conditions, then you're probably at a minimum bar of having good physical health. So think of a way, later you have a chance when you come into your groups, think of a way how you want to enhance your physical or exercise regime. And of course, knowing our limits in biological, then not too much of exercise, not working too much that you actually sacrifice your sleep at night. So knowing your balance, have a balance in everything that you do, and set certain limits to protect your personal space and protect your space here, so that you could be able to have better mental health. So after biological, it will be the psychological, emotional well-being. Our thoughts, emotions, and behavior shape our mental health. So if we want to manage our money, so the first thing we need to know how much money comes in, how much money goes out. What are the items we actually spend the most for? And now there's a lot of apps that can help you to draw a pie chart. How many goes to grocery, how many goes to transportation, how many goes to saving, and things like that, right? So managing your psychological well-being or your emotions need to have this kind of understanding. So you need to know how much reserve you actually have, what's your kind of like stress level like. So what are the things that actually normally take away your take up your stress, making you more stressed? You need to know the triggers and know how you actually fill up your cup again with this ability to give out again. So self-aware of your thoughts becomes so important that it's easy to see our emotions. Yeah. So when you're angry, it's so easy to see that you are angry, right? Others could see, you yourself could see that. But how many could actually quickly understand why am I angry on the spot? On the spot is a really tough thing to understand why am I so angry, and even take actions to reduce the anger. Not many could do that. But at least after the incidents, we could retrospectively look back and kind of analyze a bit, why am I so angry at that time? Yeah. So recently, the most recent anger episode I could recall is when I came home. Yeah. So I was kind of like knowing that I'm very tired. So then my wife, Jean, even though she's very supportive, but sometimes she could be really a pain. So trigger, right? Yeah. So we were planning for a camping trip for our kids in a few weeks' time. Next week, yes, actually, yeah. But we have been planning for so long. So it's a bit of misunderstanding of who should tell the other family members of the other kids, like other families. So she thought she would do it, but I am doing it, a bit of it. So I'm kind of stepping into her territory a bit. So she was a bit upset. But at that time, I came back from home, I was really vulnerable. Later, you will see the environment factors, which is, I'm very vulnerable. I didn't have a good sleep the night before. Even though my mind said, okay, today I have to be really, take a step back. I don't want to be too easily triggered. But I was triggered as well. It took me a few hours still. I was really angry that she kind of like lashed out for me, to me, that I was doing it with a goodwill, that I wanted to help out, but I kind of stepped into her boundaries. So, and I wasn't in the best state of mind. And at that moment, even though I kind of realized I am vulnerable, but I didn't able to understand why I was so angry. Even after that night, I have to wait until the next morning to understand I was really angry because I felt that I should be respected. It comes back to respect. Men, yeah, it comes back to respect. I wanted her to respect my involvement a bit more and not to kind of shout at me. Not to shout at me, just to kind of like, reprimand me on the spot with my children there. So I kind of lost it there. So, but luckily, I have learned throughout my journey. I wasn't that easy to calm down in the past, but this time I kind of like learned that, yeah, it's just a small matter. It's just small things. So I shouldn't be holding grudges for too long. And she had learned as well. So she was the first one, the one that came to say, are you ready to talk? At that time, I wasn't ready, and I'm in a meeting, online meeting. And so I said, no, sorry, I'm not ready now. So the next morning I will have to text her because when I go to work, I sat down in my office, I just couldn't work. I can't put my head on my work, so I have to tell her, sorry, I shouldn't be acting that way. And then lunchtime, I quickly went out and bring her for just lunch, porridge only, nothing special. Nothing special, we are very simple, porridge. So sit down and then we chit-chat a bit about what happened. A porridge very hot. The next time I will choose some bobo cha cha, and then ice kacang, cool down. Ice cream, cool down a bit. So that's how we need to kind of know our thoughts and then connect to our emotions and eventually knowing our usual behavior that we will go and then knowing our limits and intentionally take steps. It's not easy, it's not easy to forgive. I mean, C.S. Lewis once said that, he said, everyone knows forgiveness is a lovely idea until you need to forgive someone. So it's no more a lovely idea when you need to forgive something or someone. Yeah, right? It's not easy. So she put an effort, and I purposely acknowledge her efforts. Say, yeah, I really appreciate yesterday you came first and asked me, kind of ready to talk. So that actually gave me a bit of, I'm the one now, the ball is in my court, I cannot be too cocky. I have to, too egoistic. I have to take that, I have to respond correctly as well. So then I think I responded well. So that thing is in the past and we learn and move on. And we are still going for the camping. My son was asking, they are sitting there, they saw that things is not right. So they quickly just eat their dinner. Didn't kacau us at all. They just, and then eventually my son asked me, Papa, so are we still going to camping? So yes, we are still going to, and now we are more ready. So this is recognizing our own, these are the things that take a lot of willingness and intentional kind of learning. And everyone could do it, and no one can be, is going to get it right at one time, and I'm still not getting it right as well. So still learning. So recognize personal vulnerabilities. This is what I want to say. So there are times that we are more vulnerable. There are times that we are quite okay. So if you're more vulnerable, probably you don't want to engage in something that is too challenging for yourself. So, another thing, when you know that you're more vulnerable, like me, if I don't sleep well, I'm vulnerable. So I sleep well. Okay. I sleep early. Don't watch Netflix. Right? So sleep early. Okay. So develop a psychological flexibility to adapt to life. Easier said than done. But meaning the key word is flexible. Flexible. Don't be too rigid in saying that things must be this way. You must always respect me. You must always listen to me. This kind of rigid rules is very challenging. Right? So it's allowing flexibility as long as it reaches certain goal. For example, if my values is to serve the community. My values is to serve the community. So, but knowing that if I serve the community as the leader of this project, I think I will be too stressful. But everyone kind of expect you to be that leader of that project. But my value is to serve, right? So I might not need to serve at that capacity. I could still serve if I take a lower capacity or a smaller capacity that I could still serve. So in that kind of situations, I have to know my what is my reserve, and then make adjustment, and not always say that, okay, I must be the leader of this program. I must be the one that have all the say. Sometimes it's okay to allow some flexibility to step down and to be a more supportive positions. This is just one example. So there's a lot more other things that kind of in building flexibility in our life. So utilize healthy coping mechanisms to handle stress and adversity. Coping is more like behavior. Everyone will have your own coping. My coping is camping. So I'm not sure how you cope. Yeah, my coping is playing with my kids actually. Yeah, playing whatever, just spend time with them is actually my coping. They are the most real thing that I could felt. I mean, wife, of course, still, and my kids. You could probably hear me that sometimes when I'm very, very tired, I'm looking at my kids, I felt, okay, a bit grounded. They ground me. I'm still aligned to the things that I want to do in my life. Yeah. So make space for rest. Make space for rest. So some of you have busy lives. Some of you are at other stage of your in another stage of your life where you have more space and time to rest. So rest in your capacity in an active manner, intentionally seeking space to rest. That will involve, sometimes I will ask my clients to, probably you should take leave. You want MC? Good, give you MC to just leave. You probably not need the MC as per se, but you just leave. Your boss is not giving you enough rest. I give you MC. So, So want to see me? Get MC. So foster a mindset of lifelong learning. This is where I mentioned earlier, learning. So my son is in primary school. They are learning the Chinese 大楷, 中楷, the calligraphy. So I've left it for so long. Now I pick it up again. I was writing and learning. I go online and see how to write carefully. Oh, it's so nice to it's like a mindfulness practice for myself, just writing. So and he saw me writing, then kind of like learning it together. So lately I was learning Greek. So Greek 101, just for fun. It's just for fun. So I'm not planning to go for any seminaries, anything, not yet. But I'm just kind of love, just the alpha, beta, gamma, delta. And then how to write it, how to write it. So learning language, it kind of activates different part of your brains. Yeah. So keep learning at whatever stage you are. Keep on learning, and learning another language is so wonderful. Yeah. So I learned Russian language in the past because I studied there. So I always say in the crowd that if sometimes you hear me saying some words that you don't understand, that was probably Russian. Okay, social, community, and relationships. I'm overshoot with my time, I know. Yeah, so overshot already. So we are created for relationships. So build strong, supportive relationships with family, friends, and fellow believers. Share life's joys, struggles, and burden with trusted companions. So having friends, yeah. So in my clinic, one of the first things I wanted to understand is your support system. So I will usually have a drawing of how to understand your support system. So one glance, I would know how much of supports you do have. So young people cultivate good friends at this stage, and because many of our good support system actually started from young. So, but yet, church is the wonderful place, it's the best place to cultivate long-lasting support system. So if you ask me when I'm in trouble, first person that I actually look for is my brothers in the church. Not my biological, I don't have a biological brother, my sister, not my biological sisters, but brother and sister in the church. So cultivate that support system, okay? Engage in a close-knit, supportive social network. Experience a sense of belongings and purpose within a community. These are all can be achieved in a church, yeah. Contribute meaningfully to others, knowing that you are needed and valued. So you contribute, you felt being needed, you have a sense of belonging. So this area is important. Spiritual, develop a deep and personal connection with God. Align with faith, value, and biblical principles. Find purpose and meaning beyond material success. So be content. Contentment comes in here. Yeah. I remind myself a lot because I'm transitioned into private practice. So, yeah, So it's very easily being swayed away or brought into seeking more wealth. Yeah, so I need this reminder. Yeah. Draw strength from faith to cope with hardships. Experience inner peace through trust in God's plan. Always give these examples. A hardship experience without God and a hardship experience with God. So it's a completely different state of mind. At one, it will be you'll be more alone, and the other you will be more supported psychologically, socially, and spiritually as well. Yeah. So there are 6 types of wealth. This is also recently read this book, but I kind of improvise a bit. I've added the 6. The book title is only 5 types of health. 5 types of wealth, so you can't find it anywhere else. Yeah. So probably you will be, what do we think? What kind of wealth do you think will come first? Yeah, it could be anything, but yeah, health. Yeah, it can be mental wealth, spiritual wealth, physical wealth, health, physical wealth, social wealth, financial wealth is also an important wealth, and that is probably most of the people will be thinking first about wealth. Yeah. And time wealth, because all of that needs to make time. And most of the time, our financial wealth kind of took out all our time. So we don't have time wealth to consider other wealth. So this is how I improvise. This is also, you can't find it anywhere else. So this is a chart that you could, how, I wanted to go, I ask you all to go into this and from 0 to 100, how would you rate yourself in this area of your life? So this is how I mean. So this is 100%, this line, 0% to 100%. In terms of your physical wealth, you could chart yourself. Spiritual, finance, social, mental health. And this is how I chart myself. Time, I don't have much time, but I try to make time. So if you kind of think like, I have a lot of time, I make a lot of time for myself and others, so you could probably go higher. So physical, okay, this is the lowest for me. This is myself here. Yeah, you want me to put it down a bit more? I'm doing a bit of, at least I do my physiotherapy. I consider that also my physical health, yeah. I went jogging once last week, and then I have pain over my body for the next 3 days, and I kind of stopped. Okay, spiritual, I find myself okay, more than 50%, praise the Lord. And financial is about contentment. It is, some people will want to, it could be go beyond 100, but it's about contentment, yeah? Social, I think this is an area I should improve. I have never go and look for a patient for so many years, so I should improve on that. Yeah, I should. Mental, I think I'm quite okay. So after that, I kind of like put them together, and this is the shape of my hexagon. So I want you all to draw your own hexagon now. I have prepared some paper. The patient will be giving out the paper. If you have pens, you draw out your own and see where you are. And I want you all to get into 2 or 3 together and to talk about your own wealth. Which area of your wealth needs a bit of intentional improvement?
Don't look at the back.
No need to follow the answer here. Oh, yeah. So no need to look at the yeah, just a draft paper for you. Kind of like just draw. No need to be nice, and just ask yourself, oh, where will I be? Yeah. And then later y'all can go into 2 or 3 to talk a bit about this lah. Just tell each other how would you want to improve on this. Yeah. 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 So This is the one that, please. Roughly, yeah. It's a rough estimate. In one of the cognitive tests that we usually do, we ask people to draw linking pentagon. Two pentagon linked together. So this is kind of like a cognitive test for you guys also, drawing a hexagon with lines in between. Yeah, you can find a partner just next to you and talk about it. Okay, those who have done it, just find two in a group, just to talk about it. Yeah. Yeah, so you can talk to the person next to you in pair. Yeah, so you can talk to the brother out there as well. There's a brother there. Yeah. Yeah, just to share about what have you done well in terms of taking care of your health in general, in terms of your wealth, as a matter of fact. What are the areas that you wanted to improve further, and how to do so? Okay, perhaps 1 more minute and we'll wrap up, okay? Wrap up for this. Okay, anyone have anything to share? Anything that you kind of, as you were drawing and sharing, you kind of found out about yourself and you would like to quickly share 1 or 2 points about your findings? Yeah, any takers? Yeah. Any takers that you kind of like noticed that you have something that you wanted to share from this exercise that we did? Perhaps I will invite from the 4 ladies here. Maybe one of you could kind of like just shout out some of the things that you kind of like have noticed from your sharing. I mean, among your discussion among yourself. Not enough time. Okay. So have you identified ways to make times? Not yet. Okay. At least awareness of the problem is a first step for solution. Yeah. Find time to sleep. Okay. Yes, yes. To have more physical health, sleep is part of the physical health, of the physiological wealth. You need to find time for sleep. True. So maybe we could hear from the younger generation a bit there, the young one that has sat there. Maybe you could share this. So anything that you have found out from your drawing. Time also, right? Most likely time. Yeah. So a bit of opinions from the back there as well. Anything from the back there? It's yeah. I know it's kind of like very subjective, right? Very subjective. So which are the areas that you find it easier, the most easier to judge? The physical health is more quantitative, right? It's easier to quantify. Yeah. So are there areas that you would want to improve in terms of your physical health? Okay. So maybe a bit of feedback from the front here as well. Some are at a different stage of their life now. Yeah, sisters, anything that you've kind of like learned about your health? Yeah, maybe I would invite one to just give one comment. One comment, yeah, and maybe you could help us. Anything that you have found from this exercise? Of course, there's no right and wrong. So, social life, yeah. So, social life has been more than 50%. Yeah. So, at different stages of our life, perhaps different area would have different weightage. Yeah. So, myself, probably the finance is something which is important. I have to cover a few. I have quite a lot of commitments on my shoulder here. Yeah, right? Who would understand? Okay, allow me to move on. Any burning questions at this point? Any burning questions? Else, allow me to go on. We'll be going into part 2 now. And I just realized that, we're actually until 2 o'clock. So we have time. Yeah. Thanks for this. Thank you. It's very nice. And I like the guitar playing. Yeah, that's how we can give her a bit of applause there. And your church kind of make it into a card for invitation. Yeah, I really like that. Yeah. So now we're going into part 2. So self-care, we have an idea. Self-care as an important first step before we move on, or more accurately is as we move on, or as we continue to serve our neighbor, take care of others, family members, neighbors, as per friends and relatives, more extended community. So this is where we are going to put a bit of emphasis in our part 2 here. So again, love your neighbor as it is mentioned in the Great Commandments, which is equally important for loving God. So I would want to focus, because it's a wide scope. The scope is too wide in loving our neighbor. So I would want to narrow it down into focusing it more on mental health illnesses. So to do so, all of you will be kind of like exposed to a long list of mental health conditions. So the second part is a bit academic. I know I'm not training you guys to be a psychiatrist, but at least I want to train you guys to have an understanding slightly above the average for the usual laypersons, to know what are the psychiatric conditions that we are seeing in our public here. Okay? So a bit of understanding. So bear with me, might be a bit academic. So mental health, this is the hierarchy of how advocacy or how to make mental health more known to the public. And this is already taking place because there are more people who are more aware of it and willing to come forth for treatment and to get help and to get support. So, and the first step is actually personal level. And now today, as you are all coming here, you're kind of like already at this personal level for sure. So you want to know more about your self-care, right? So you know some of it now, then you have a bit of your plan now, more aware of it. And then the next level will be more of interpersonal, knowing, seeing what are the people, other people that it needs, and eventually to be able to provide supports. And moving forward, it would be more of the organizations like the church, for example, and eventually the public, and eventually go beyond even to the policymakers in the government and things like that. So it's a hierarchy. So that triangle at the back is intentional. So it goes from we want to have more people who knows about mental health, and eventually those people will eventually contribute to some policy changes in the country. So, mental health illness. I was always being asked, doctor, how do you know that this is depression, like the disorder, the illness, depression, and that one is just sadness? So, yeah, there is a very clear line in between because of these criteria that has been provided by the researchers over the years, and then they kind of give us a very clear guideline of draw that line that this is disorder, illness, that is not yet considered or categorized as illness, and I would want to let you know a few principles. So the keywords. So the American Psychiatric Association defines mental illness as, I have to put on my specs. Health conditions involving changes in emotion, thinking, and behavior, or a combination of these. These conditions are associated with distress and or problem functioning in social work or family. So in short, there are symptoms, and those symptoms can be from emotions, thinking, and behavior. And at the same time, there is deterioration or issues with functioning. So symptoms and functioning both must come hand in hand. So having symptoms and not able to function to the optimum level. So when that two met the criteria, when that two are present, it meets the criteria. And each of the conditions have a long list of different symptoms. But yet, when it comes to functioning, it's generally the same. A student won't be able to go to school, for example, or won't be able to study up to the potential that she or she should have. A worker unable to work, a father not able to handle stress from the family, a mother unable to play the role of mother, and so forth and so on. So that is the two main criteria. So this is the triangle. The CBT triangle, CBT stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. So the triangles means the thoughts, the emotions, and the behavior. So there are these three things that we are always seeing. Thoughts we normally can't see unless the person tells you, unless you able to, or we able to recognize it. But emotions we can see, and behavior definitely we could. Yeah. And one leads to the other, one affects the other. Yeah. So I was angry at that time, so I raised up my voice when my wife was showing a bit of disrespect at that time. So that was my behavior. My emotion, I was angry. But I didn't immediately connect it to my thoughts until later I found that, yeah, my eagerness to be respected was was not at the right time, at the right place at that time. And I should understand that my wife has put a lot of effort in connecting with other parents for that trip, and I shouldn't be stepping into that boundaries. So I was disconnected. So these three go hand in hand, and there must always be a trigger. And the trigger sometimes can be obvious trigger, external trigger, like certain words of behavior that triggers you, or an incident. It can be internal triggers. It can be guilt. It could be shame. It could be other things. It could be internal. And when a trigger happens, usually it kind of make all those things go round and round and round and round. That process will be a lot of ruminations, a lot of emotions that cannot be regulated, and sometimes the behavior can be destructive. Yeah. So like certain behavior, like self-harm behaviors, those are more destructive behavior. Using substance, drugs, those are alcohol, those are more destructive behaviors. And one leads to the other, and eventually sometimes because of this cycle that has been going on, it could lead to another trigger. Like my wife came and said, "Hey, are you ready to talk?" I said, "No, I'm not." Or if I wasn't able to control myself, if I said another wrong words, probably that could lead into another triggers, and that can lead into another whole sets of emotional response. And the whole thing actually happened not in the mid-air. It actually happened in an environment at home when I was most vulnerable. Probably she was coughing at that time. Probably she was also vulnerable. So it happened in that environment. So awareness of our environment, meaning including our own vulnerability, is very important. Yeah, the principle doesn't apply at every time. There are stages of life which will be the environment. There are our own health, physical health, mental health, which will be quite dynamic, and it changes over time. So must take into account, must be aware of the environment as well. So some might ask me, so what is this thing going on here? Who is that? It's our brain. So things that is happening there is more psychological things which is happening, but there is actually a real physiological process which is taking place in the brain. And that micro level of changes, it can be explained in this way. Yeah. So in our brain, there's billions of neurons, and the neurons is not all of them connected, or each neuron are not connected directly. They actually have this gap which is called as synaptic cleft. So studying biology, right? Yeah, flashback. Is it a traumatic flashback? Yes, this is science. Yeah, science 101. So they do, and when the conduction of the neurons here are through electric. But when they reach the end, there is a gap, so electric cannot jump through the gap. So what did they do? What did our mind? How this is God's creation, by the way, so wonderful. This is small molecules called neurotransmitter. So this small neurotransmitter, they have different types of it. They have serotonin, dopamine, epinephrine, GABA, stress. So there are so many types of this neurotransmitter that will jump from one side to the other, and then it kind of continue with this propagation of the information. So it is, as you are sitting there learning things, thinking, all this process is taking place. As you have any emotion is going on, all this process is taking place. So if it goes into a state where this is the normal, perhaps this is just a very simplified kind of thing, like there are five neurotransmitters, 5 here, this is normal. When it goes to a depression, for example, it has inadequate serotonin, for example, or norepinephrine, for example, at certain pathway in the brain. And then with medications will kind of help to boost up again, and it became normalized again. So going back to this chart here, you see, treatment can go any way. You could change the environment, of course. You could change your job, quit, and then go to a better job, better environment. That is changing your environment. Yeah. You could don't have triggers. Okay. How is it possible? I'm not sure. Logically, no triggers, no this cycle, right? But it's not possible, right? It's not possible to have. Yeah, it's another trigger. So it's not possible. And then that's where psychological treatment comes in, working on how to recognize our thoughts, working on how to regulate our emotions, working on how to have better coping, better behavior, not going for alcohol, but instead going for exercise, for example. Sleep early, don't sleep too late. And then you could work on the brain as well. How? One way, that direct way, is going through medications. Medications would come in at this stage. Yeah. Of course, there are good evidence that healthy lifestyle, especially exercise, at a very adequate level, it could boost up, it could help to stabilize some of those imbalanced neurotransmitters. There are other ways besides medications. There are physiological ways. We have other ways like ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, transcranial magnetic stimulations, deep brain stimulation. So there are other types of physiological treatment as well. But usually medication treatments for moderate to severe illnesses, mental illnesses, it would be recommended by your doctors. As a start, to start this engine. The engine kind of like already stuck. You have to start this engine so that the rest of the treatment, like the behavioral, the CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, or other forms of therapy can take place. Else, when a person is too sad or too occupied with their anxiety, they have no space to learn how to move on. Asking them to exercise also cannot, because there's no motivations to exercise at all. So medications will have to at least bring it to a level where they can start to listen and think, okay, I'll try it out. And then you try it out. At least take the edge away, take the edges, the difficult corners, the difficult edges away. So this is how things happened and how the treatment will be focusing on each of these areas. One more point. Spirituality, our connectedness, our connection, relationship with God is an environment as well, right? So if we are in closer relationship with God, the whole environment, bigger environment, would be a different scenario. So imagine an environment where you have no God, and an environment where everything is happening, the same things is happening, but have God. And you know that this is what God wants you to do, to forgive, to accept. Things become better. Your neurotransmitter probably will also be recovering even faster, because you will put yourself in a much better state. And not to mention that God's divine help, His hand will be definitely in the situations to bring you through these difficulties. All right? So, flashback. So, there are so many types of mental illnesses. Yeah. So the one that we normally see in our society, a client comes in and normally they will say, I will ask them, what brings you here? I say, doctor, I have depression. I have to be very careful. What do you mean by depression? Because for the society, telling about that I have depression is easier to be accepted. If I say I have schizophrenia, if I have this sexual disorders, well, it's taboo. People will not be able to understand or accept it. So depression is kind of like a universal term now, but it's actually each of the illnesses have its specialized terms. So psychotic disorder is more of the conditions where you have delusions and perhaps some hallucinations. The behavior is very odd and disorganized. Yeah, I will go into that later on, but just quickly go on there. We have another big group of mood disorder. Probably this is what the public would know. Either this is really psychotic, or the other one is mood, like depression, anxiety, bipolar, yeah, more even OCPD, meaning OCD, the obsessive compulsive disorder. It's more mood disorder. But in real life, in our life, there are more personality disorders, substance addiction, childhood ADHD, autistic, cognitive disorder like dementia, eating disorder, eating disorder meaning restrictive kind of eating, binge eating, anorexia, right? OCD, obsessive compulsive, somatic symptoms, paying too much attention to the somatic symptoms, and then illness, anxiety disorder came in here. Yeah, so body dysmorphic disorder came in here, that they're paying too much attention on their body parts, where it's completely normal, but they felt that my nose is just a little bit crooked. So paying too much attention. So that is also a disorder. There are dissociative disorders, depersonalization, derealization kind of conditions. Paraphilic disorder, we have probably heard of this pedophile and things like that. There's also a disorder. Sexual dysfunctions, there are other types, and then sleep-wake disorder, and there are more. I just didn't have place to put it in more anything. So I just want to give you an idea that this whole jungle out there, this whole bulk of disorders that under psychiatric treatment. It's not just depression. So one by one, I will go through this a bit faster. I think this is just a bit of understanding. So this is the whole spectrum of schizophrenia spectrum and other psychotic disorders. So from a very brief one for 1 week to lifelong conditions, it's 1 in 300. 1 in 300. Yeah. So the main symptoms are delusions, hallucination, disorganized behavior, thinking, speech. Negative symptoms, don't want to mix with the society, and then it could be certain duration, but for schizophrenia normally we will need to see the symptoms for at least a solid 1 month and 6 months and above. A solid 1 month of intense or significant symptoms and 6 months of other symptoms. So a lot of stigma when it comes to schizophrenia, and a lot of them out there which didn't really receive proper treatment. This is in the world. And depressive disorder, at far the most common one, 5%, meaning in 100 there will be 5, in 20 there will be 1. Correct, my mathematics, correct. Yeah, so it could be low mood persistently, no interest, could be various duration. For the persistent depressive disorder, it should be more than 2 years, and major depressive disorder, it could just take more than 2 weeks. Persistent symptoms with other symptoms as well. So they will have psychological symptoms, physiological symptoms. The psychological symptoms mean they felt hopeless, extreme guilt, felt worthless, and physiological symptoms, probably sleep problems, they can't focus well, they don't know appetite, or some actually have increase in appetite. Some can't sleep, some have increase in their sleep. So they can go both ways. It's not necessarily cannot sleep. Some actually will sleep more. So this is it's so common. It's a bit like flu, and it can happen to anyone, young, old, as young as teenagers or even younger children, and the elderly populations as well. So it's causing a lot of disability adjusted life years, meaning they lost their ability to function as a person. And by 2023, it will be the top three, meaning as a person functioned well, and then suddenly it couldn't function because of an illness. So it's top three. But yet, I want to emphasize that effective treatments is available. There are effective treatments. Yeah. So, and it will take probably a few months, and from what I'm seeing and from literature, about 90% actually would recover. Yeah, recover 90%. Yeah, 10% which is going to be a bit challenging, but the percentage is good. Percentage is good. And the thing that we fear the most in depression is probably suicide. Yeah, and we hear from here and there from time to time there are cases of suicide. And the extreme age, meaning the teenagers to the young adults, and at the same time the elderly populations are most at risk when it comes to suicide. But there are ways to prevent it. Yeah, there are ways to prevent it. In my towards the end, I will talk a bit about this safety plan, how to prevent suicide. Bipolar disorder, 1 in 200. Yeah, so it's quite often. It's quite frequent as well. It's the opposite of depression, where a person will felt expansive. Meaning they felt extremely well, confident, more than their usual self, and increased energy and a lot of things that they wanted to do, a lot more ideas, and might at that time engage in more high-risk behaviors like spending too much, making the wrong investment, and so forth and so on. So it's one type of considered as serious mental condition. You have bipolar 1 and 2. 2 is you will be seeing more depressive episodes. Bipolar 1, you'll probably be seeing the high and the low is kind of like more equal. Yeah. And suicide risk is found to be highest among bipolar patients. Yeah, that is this has been we noticed that in research and in my practice as well. There are a range of effective treatment options. So both combinations of therapy and medications would be really helpful. Yeah. The anxiety disorder, second commonest. Yeah, or in certain area of the world, it will be the most common. Yeah. So there are so different type of specific anxiety. They are afraid of spider, for example, or afraid of snakes. So this is specific phobia, claustrophobia, not unable to go into the lift, for example. Yeah, there are social anxiety in social setting, to give presentations. It's a social phobia. There are agoraphobia and things and so forth and so on. But the generalized anxiety disorder is probably the most common one. Worried about everything. Sounds familiar. So the criteria to have GAD is actually not, it's quite low. Many people, yeah, yeah, sounds like. Okay, yeah. So as I was studying as a medical student, yeah, whenever we have these conditions called, not called, there's no name for it, but whatever illnesses we are studying, we will feel that, oh, maybe I have that, or maybe I have that. So if you have this kind of condition, syndrome, you felt that, oh, like me. It's usual. It's usual. When we learn new things, we will think that probably I might have this. But if you are really in doubt, you can talk to me later. Yeah? So anxiety sometimes it's younger. Younger is normally you can find it when they are younger. They normally have a bit of anxiety usually. Yeah. So and it's common comorbid, meaning it coexists like depression and anxiety, and then it normally comes together. Yeah. So it's quite often, but only 1 in 4 people have anxiety receive treatment. Highly effective treatments are available. So this is OCD. So people tend to tell that even you are doing a bit obsessive things, we will tell you, you have OCD. You have OCD. It's a very strict. You need a very strict criteria to say OCD. So most likely when you say you have OCD, or OCD is not an OCD So 1 to 2%. 1 to 2%. And this is the hoarding. Hoarding means they cannot discard things. They will keep things and then they just couldn't discard things. And sometimes even a tissue paper on the floor, they will feel that they are obligated to pick up the tissue paper and keep it at home. So hoarding is sometimes can be a very difficult conditions to handle. Yeah. Trichotillomania is hair pulling. And sometimes they're hair pulling and they eat their hair, so they have another conditions. So this is probably more for younger people. Yeah, younger people. Yeah, in a way, it's anxiety as well. But if it doesn't cause difficulties, yeah, it's okay. If it causes some difficulties in their life, the functioning, right, cannot function because of that, and it can be a difficulty. It can be a condition. Yeah. So 9 out of 10 people with OCD have another mental health conditions, because OCD is a very deliberating illness, and normally it causes depression, causes other conditions. About 50% report symptoms improvement with treatment. Yeah, this is for OCD. Yeah, so 50%. So why so low, you might ask? I would say OCD normally it will need longer treatment. It will need psychotherapy, it will need medication, usually at a bit higher dosage to achieve a good outcome. Yeah. And sometimes in OCD, we are not aiming to have 0 symptoms. We're just aiming to have tolerable symptoms. Yeah. Because you want to aim for 0 symptoms, sometimes can be challenging. But saying so, there are 50% who could go back into quite 100% improvement. Medication is usually needed at higher dosage. Yeah, this one I mentioned already. So trauma and stress-related disorder, PTSD, you heard of PTSD. So probably in our country, we don't see that much, but in those countries where they are at war, Ukraine, Russia, US, in US, those who went for war among the soldiers, PTSD is so common, so common. So 3.9% is quite common, right? Just now, the anxiety is about 4%. This is 3.9%. Exposure to trauma, intrusive thoughts, they just cannot get those thoughts out of their head, especially thoughts related to the trauma. They will avoid those things that triggers them again in negative moods. It can be depressive moods, and then they could kind of like have amnesia, meaning they cannot remember what was happening at that time. So, and so forth and so on. Yeah. But knowing that not everyone exposed to trauma will have PTSD. Not. It's just some will develop. To reduce the risk, the better the support, the better. You won't go into the PTSD. Yeah. And there are effective treatments for PTSD. So, and probably for some, which will be usually the response when I talk about personality disorder, is that many didn't heard this before. But personality disorder is probably one of the most challenging disorder that we are treating in psychiatry. So there are various types of personality disorders. So I want to emphasize personality is something neutral, right? Everyone has your personality. Everyone has its own colored personality. So, but if in a personality, if we are kind of skewed into using the more destructive part of the personality in our life, like for example, all doctors have a bit of obsessive compulsive personality. Not all I would say. But I would say most of the doctors will have this because we need that to be a good doctor, to be careful in our daily work. So, but if I carry it too far, if I becoming not able to delegate my work to my subordinates or to others, I will be working, then my time wealth will be zero. I will be working, and because I cannot let go, I will be checking again and again, see whether I kind of make the right diagnosis, give the right treatment. So if I kind of just use the destructive part of my personality, I will get into trouble. And if that prolongs for a certain period of time, it would be considered a disorder. So I will have to learn to use the more positive side of my personality so that I would be able to make full use of my potential. So knowing your own personality and learning to use the positive side of your personality would be important. Yeah, so usually a person with personality disorder will be struggling with relationships, and it starts young, maybe 15, 16 years and above. And then effective treatment is available, and I want to emphasize psychotherapy is normally the mainstay. Medication can help to a certain extent, but psychotherapy is the mainstay. Yeah, so if it's not treated, usually it leads to other form of mental illness like anxiety, like depression. Okay, so mental health advocacy, just a bit of recap here. You are now having the knowledge now. You work on your own self-care, improve on your own self-care, and then perhaps you already been helping others or at least been talking about this. Now you have been talking about this. So interpersonal level, you're supporting others. So in a church, you are inviting me to come over. That means this church is much aware of the needs of the society now. So do continue to build this advocacy work. Yeah. And perhaps some of you here have the possibility go even further one day, into making a difference in the policy and systemic changes. Maybe not in the government, but if you are a teacher, you are in a school, maybe you could make a bit of policy change in your school. If you are you own a company or you are a policy maker in your company, perhaps you can make a bit of changes for better mental health in your environment, in your working environment. So again, just recap a bit in terms of mental health, mental illness, these two parts where the symptoms, some of the symptoms I mentioned earlier, and the function must be affected. Then when two are really there, we will call it as it is. It's a mental illness, and it's a chronic disease, meaning it kind of continues on, but it can go into good remission, meaning it can stay remission and will not come back again for many, many years. Yeah, for many, many years. So just showing you this chart again. Okay, now, probably the last part. Psychological first aid. So I'm just using this as a template or as a way to encourage you all to how to help others. So PFA, psychological first aid, we know first aid is that when someone is injured, you go and help them immediately. But psychological first aid is like you saw that someone is in need of some psychological support and you go and help. So the principle is, first is preparation. You are all now under preparation. You are being prepared. You are preparing yourself. Then the look, listen, link. This is the simple look, for people who are in distress. Listen when you approach them. The purpose is not to find solution immediately. It's actually to listen in a non-judgmental way. It's not trying to solve their problem. It's just to understand and listen. Even after understanding, it's not to solve the problem. It's actually to link them with their consent to the help that they need. Yeah. But if you are the person that you find that you could provide some help, you do it in kind of like a group, not by yourself, so that you will not be burning out, or you don't go into burnout yourself, and you probably would not have some blind spots that you don't see. So look, observe for warning signs and symptoms of those around you. Anticipate possible instability during major life events for the vulnerable. For example, if you have someone that you know are struggling with depression and now in remission, doing okay with treatment, but you know that recently someone in her family, important to her, had passed away. So you can't anticipate. There is a possibility that she might go into depression again, or the depression might relapse or reoccur. So you will kind of anticipate ahead and provide supports even before that takes place. So when in doubt, start the conversation to understand more. Just ask me, how are you doing lately? Yeah, is there anything that I could help you? Yeah, I'm here to provide you my ears, my shoulder. I'm here. Yeah. So listen, I mentioned already, and link. So social support, professional helps eventually, mobilize supports within church. Yeah, and if you kind of like somehow you are in an office where you would be leaving that office and trying to, like, it's my situations, I'm leaving my hospital work, so have to properly pass over to your other colleagues or other friends who is going to continue to help that person. So link includes that as well. Yeah. So this is a safety plan. So safety plan in opposite to suicide plan. So some, though, when they are in great distress, they might have these thoughts that life is not worth living anymore. They might be thinking of planning towards suicide. So the opposite of it, when we notice that as professionals, this is what we would normally do as a safety plan for discussion among family members, so that to help the persons to be more safe. So this is the two apps that you could download from iOS or from Android. And there are these things that in these two apps that you could follow through. And normally I would ask the family and the patients to sit down together and to go through the whole 6 points together. Yeah, so that the family would know when the person are actually showing some warning signs. There will be clients that say to the family and me that when they started to feel lonely, maybe crisis is approaching. Or maybe the upstairs is start to drill their wall again. Crisis is coming. So the family say, okay, some drilling is going on. They probably want to check on the patients. So, and also sometimes we'll include like asking the patients or the clients, say, how would you want your family members to respond to you at this kind of situations? So they will say, yeah, you could knock on my door, ask me, but don't be too pushy. Please don't be too pushy. So the clients can tell, or the patients can tell, what is his or her preferred way. So this kind of following this open up conversation between family members and patients and the doctors to set a safety plan or safety net in place at home or surrounding him or her to protect him or her from carrying out her plans for suicide. So teaching the patients to have internal coping, like ways to cope. Internal meanings they do it by themselves. But if that doesn't work, how to get external help, meaning social supports, or go to a certain social setting, even sometimes go to mama's store, sit there. It's better than sitting at home and be more vulnerable. And if that doesn't help, then they go one more steps to close friends and family, or to get crisis help, meaning they'll call their mom or dad or brothers or sisters saying that I tried everything, but it doesn't work, but I really need help. Can you come over? For example, something like this. And or eventually professional help. So that person who came over will probably bring them to the emergency department or going to the clinic or seek certain other clinical psychologists to get help. So professional and agencies. If that is not possible in professional and agency, we will also provide phone line, hotlines. Later I will show a list of hotlines. Yeah, and then eventually last but not least, most important I would think is how to make environment safe. So family members will need to think of whatever ways that can make the environment more safe. That can include keeping all the sharp objects. That can include locking up the balconies. That will include perhaps even keeping all the Clorox detergents away in a more safe manner and lock it away. And more importantly, for those who are taking medications, responsible family members must be in charge of keeping the medications from the patients and just to serve the daily dosage or the agreed upon durations, like giving you 3 days in advance or 1 week at one go. So to limit the means. So by doing that, it's actually to prevent suicide. And research has shown that if we do this together with the patients and the family, the risk can be reduced tremendously. So this is something, and now with the technology, we could use apps, and then we don't bring paper, right? So now we use our handphone, so it's in your handphone, and whenever the patient is in distress, you could just take it out and see, oh, okay, I have planned myself out. If I'm in these situations, I better go and have a cold bath. I better go and jogging, go jogging, or I better call up my friend. So he has a plan for himself. So he do A, B, C, D, still not okay, then you have to call the professional help. So that is what it means by a safety plan. So if your profession, if you are seeing a doctor and the doctor is doing that, you'll probably have an idea what is the doctor's intention. Yeah. So I hope you remember still this, that you could go back home and continue to ponder upon it. And when it comes to a crisis, when someone is in crisis or you yourself is in crisis, these are the few things that you can continue doing, is continue your routine. So to continue your routine, first you have to build a routine first, right? You have to have a routine. So it's so important to have your own routine, not a rigid one, but a routine. What time do you go to sleep? What time do you go to the toilet? I was asked when I was 20 plus years old by my pastor. He said, you don't have self-discipline even to go to toilet in the morning, asking me. I was pondering, do I need to have that discipline to go to the toilet every morning? No one told me. But since then, I've learned that, and it is automatic now. I don't need to think. Morning, I have to just sit and it will come. So, yeah. And I don't need to worry about it the whole day. So discipline and our biological, physiological self will actually cooperate with us, and you can have that discipline. And if you wake up at a certain time, your biological clock, by 6 you'll be waking up perhaps every day about the same time, even without your alarm clock, right? Right? This is how we train ourselves. So a bit of routine, good routines. And when we are in crisis, it's more important to lean back to our routine. So I would usually tell my clients who are moving overseas, they are going to change their work environment, friends environment, and things. I say, first of all, go to a new place. It's okay, just lean back to your routine. Try to wake up accordingly to your own routine, exercise routine, meals routine. So try to keep to your routine as much as possible, and the rest will fall into its place. Yeah. So routine. Connect with and talk to trusted people. So connect. If you're in crisis or anyone in crisis, maintain connection. Avoid all this you mentioned already. Exercise, healthy eating, sleep. I talked of this, mentioned this before. Manage your stress. This is something that you will learn in cognitive behavioral therapy. Remember, you are not alone. So this journey, people has journeyed through before, so you are not alone. And then seek help if you eventually need to seek help. Yeah. So when do I seek professional help? Many people will ask this question. So it could be during the most difficult part of your journey that you start thinking of seeking help. It could be also when things are still quite okay, everything is okay, just the very beginning of some waves that you will start seeking help. There's no right and wrong. But I would encourage to seek help earlier. And most of the psychiatric conditions that I mentioned earlier, it's easier to treat when it is at the beginning. It's more difficult to treat when it is, the longer it is. Yeah, it causes other kind of like cascade of events like depression, anxiety might comes in. So earlier the better. Okay. So where to seek help? So this is helplines. In kind of emergency, you could call all these helplines. The one that I would recommend is Befrienders. So Befrienders actually is a toll-free, but so many people are calling them. So they are engaged a lot of time. Sometimes half an hour or so cannot get in. My client said like, yeah. So, but it's still a reliable line because there are some training for them. So now we have Talian Heal. I have not tried it before, but the government has came out with Talian Heal 1555. Some have to check. I think Talian Heal have no time, tapi the rest other masa-masa dia. I mean, I speak in Malay. There will be time for them because I look at this automatically become Malay. So there are time. So maybe from 8 to 10. From some you have to check and see. You have to check and see. Okay, so eventually, if you cannot remember any number, call 999. Yeah, you can still get help. Good thing about our 999. Yeah, you could still get some help. Yeah. So this is the clinic, a bit of self-promotion here. There are a lot of other psychiatrists in Malaysia, about 600 of us, 600 plus minus, part are in government, some are in private. So I'm just one of them. Yeah. So but I'm practicing there in this clinic with under Dr. Yo. So and there is a psychology center next door as well. So sometimes people are easier to accept clinical psychologist treatment than psychiatrist treatment. So this is probably due to stigma. But anywhere you start, it will be okay. So it can start here, and then when they see the needs, they will refer it to us. So that's we have 6 psychiatrists there. 6. Yeah. So lastly, I want to say this. So 3 John 1 and chapter 1, verse 2, dear friends, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. So body and soul, mental health, physical health, social health, financial health, time, wealth, all will go well if you intentionally pay attention and take care of it. Okay? Spiritual health, definitely. So with that, I will end here and open for Q&A if there are any. Yeah. Please.
Thank you, Dr.
You.
For sharing
Yeah.
this mental health issue.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it's good that our government finally say that those that committed suicide never die.
Yeah.
So this is one of the advocacy that helped.
Yeah.
Then secondly, is that you see, because ever since 1970s, the Hong Kong movie, they stigmatized people that are not mentally healthy. Yeah, even though 2 years ago, our royal family, they were the ambassador of mental health. Okay? But until now, when sometimes people are angry, they use Cantonese say, then you say, 他长天的，气死你了。So, you see, to create this kind of awareness,
Yeah.
to stop the stigmatization of mental health, it's not easy. What is your suggestion?
Meaning you are asking what is my suggestions in terms of?
Of course, because you're the professional.
Yeah, I just want to clarify the questions. You are asking about advocacy, is it? As a church, okay. Yeah.
Next time we're going to invite you again or build your credit
Yeah. Yeah, I think the society, the stigmatization is still there, Even though over the years it has reduced much, but there's still a lot of work to be done, and church can definitely play a role. So this kind of gathering, this kind of sharing would be helpful. Yeah, and church can work with other NGOs. Probably you have heard of his team 7979. His team, they would have a lot of resources. Yeah, they kind of when we do this work to help others, we need resources because it's not a one man job. It's not one church job. It's actually you have to pool resources. So as we pool resources, we remain connected to other resources. And 7979, his team is one of the NGO that pool all the resources together, and they will share resources. And so church could benefit from those kind of partnership. Church, yeah. Besides this kind of talk, and you are here, individuals, you could do that. Interpersonal, you could do that. But stepping up as a church, the third level in that inverted pyramid would be to join resources. Yeah. So his team actually opened up for partnership with churches. Yeah. And I often being asked by the PIC from them for resources as well. They will ask me about these kind of situations, what best to answer to the church requests about a certain mental health conditions. So then you see their questions would reach me and I would be able to provide answers and share my resources with them. So you will probably want to tap into that as you are moving and continue to work, help more others in this area. So our church is also one of the partners. So we will receive referrals saying that this family is staying within your radius, and they have these needs. Are you able to handle? Can you spare some hands to handle? So we will have to go there and visit periodically. And even if the needs is financial needs, church have to come out with some financial needs. And good thing that his team also would contribute some of these financial needs just for a short term, because they are not really all their monies come from church eventually, and so then we could work together to provide the needs. We understand the needs. The needs is financial, but at the same time, they will also need some real help to bring them to see doctor, visits to the doctors, and the church will have to step up and to work on that. So church have to be internally, pace yourself to be ready if you want to go further in these directions, not only in terms of the knowledge and individual preparedness, but as a church to help in, this is not only pertaining to mental health, this is pertaining to all needs. It could be all needs, health in a more general sense. I wonder did I answer your questions?
Thank you so much, because I think it's a very good suggestion that you said about Christian NGO.
Yeah.
Mention about MMHA.
Yeah, and
Not Christian-based.
you could as well. Yeah. It's also a resource. Yeah, so when it comes to resources and helping, we will probably be a bit more. We will be more flexible. Not saying that must be Christian. Sometimes helps come from everywhere. Yeah, comes from everywhere. We just wanted to make sure helps is really answering to their needs. Yeah, and only by then, probably they will be interested to understand, you're a Christian, or tell me more about your religion, or tell me more about your faith. So that is how it works in real life. Yes, please. Oh. Yes, it is possible. Yeah. So, but not all family members who has inherited or have this heredity or genetic predisposition for mental illness would have depression. So it needs other factors to come in. So genetic is just one of the factors. Yeah. And there are those who do not have any genetic loads but still develops depression. So we don't know where does that come from. And somehow that is not also the most important questions already. Treatment and move on in life is more important, right? So, but yet when the family, doctors will normally ask any family history of mental illnesses or any medical conditions in the family. So this is our automatic questions from your doctor. So if there is any, sometimes we will be more careful. Like if there's a family with bipolar, but these patients came just with depression, I will be thinking, is this possibility of bipolar in the future? I'm seeing depression now, but maybe it will turn into bipolar in the future. I will be more careful because of the family history. So yeah, so what I would say is if you have a family history of mental illnesses, my advice would be you have to work harder or more intentional in your self-care. Yeah. So when you choose a job, don't choose very stressful one. Choose a life, don't choose a too stressful life. Yeah, because you know you have a bit higher, of higher risk already, right? So slow down a bit. Learn more contentment. Yeah, if you could change that environment and you will be better, and still financial wealth is okay and you're content with it, why not? Right? Yes, sir. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. 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 Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. It's different. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. These are very relevant questions. So normally when I talk about depression, I will elaborate more on your second questions. So perhaps churches are and there are ways that we normally will advise. It's kind of like giving solution, trying to give solutions like, yeah, you should pray more, yeah, you should come to church more often, or like them, just like when you look back at the book of Job, then you will be knowing that there are his friends who was trying to find some solutions for him or to answer what the suffering that he is going through. So going back to some of the points I was pointing out was listening is more important. Yeah. So instead of asking them to, you should pray more, perhaps with their consent, you could pray for them. Is it okay if I pray for you? That is okay. But before reaching that stage, there's a lot of understanding and listening and trying to know what is going on that needs to be in place. So your physical presence is important. You need to be there, and you need to make yourself available to be there. And I tell you, the person who is listening to you will know whether you are in rush or not in rush. Yeah. Right? They will know. If you can ask my clients also, can you tell Dr. Yu is in rush or not today? They will say, yeah, today he's very much in rush. Or today he actually can have time to talk to me. So same in our conversations with our friends and others as well. So we have to make time, make space for them, and to understand the needs before we would offer like this kind of usual like Christians methods. So too much of that is not helpful, especially when you are judgmental, when you are saying that you should pray more, meaning you are saying that you are not praying enough. So there's a bit of kind of judgmental implications at the back of our mind. So where we know, yes, it is helpful to pray more, but he's not at the state to understand or to make sense of that. And by saying that, you are not going to be too helpful. So why not we just saying that, yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so yeah, just if you want to say something, you could. If you think that you're not ready, but I'm here, I was just able to spend some time here. And perhaps after a while, he or she, after build up the trust, they will be able to tell you more. So it takes, come back to our self-care, we need to learn how to sit with our own emotions to be able to sit with other people's emotions. We need to be able to notice our emotions, deal with it, express it, so that we are able to handle other people's emotions. So it all comes hand in hand from very much to some self-care. That's why I start with self-care and all the way to loving others. So coming back to your first questions, if you want to summarize it in 3 things that we want to see in others, that we kind of like, our alarm should go up and say, this one needs help. So I would kind of think of some risks that is life-threatening kind of risk. So one is suicide. If this person in any way hinted to you or saying things that you were kind of like felt that this might be leading towards a potential suicide talk, then you would have to be more alert and have to be intentional in making that conversations. So we Asians probably would not be too direct. It's like asking, hey, are you having suicidal ideas? We probably wouldn't do that. Yeah. Overseas, that is their training. Their first questions is straight to the point. Are you having suicidal thoughts? Yeah. But here we're probably a bit more conservative. We'll go something like that. Yeah, sometimes people, when they are in this state of mind, like what you have just mentioned to me just now, they would tend to have these thoughts that it's good that if I go to sleep, I don't wake up anymore. It's good that I just want to escape from this life. So you could use a bit of normalization kind of techniques. Yeah. So if people are in your state, will think of this. I wonder, have you ever thought of that? So you kind of normalize it first, and then come back. You have to? You say, yeah. So then you know you are about 50% sure that something is there. Then you have to go one more step. And the step would be, you have to ask and have that time that you are thinking about taking your own life. So you are going into more straightforward, direct question, because earlier you are kind of like still a bit like beating around the bush a bit. You want to just check how to see test the water. Then he said yes. If the answer is yes, then seriously you have to cancel some appointments later, and you have to talk more about, can you tell me more? What have you planned out? Are there things that you have already been planning or doing? And how can I help you? And best way is to help them to get to professional help all the way. It's not like giving them your just Dr. Use card, a business card. No, that is a bit too brief, because when you notice those risks, you probably want to go all out to get them to help. So this is where church could come together. I have one, I know it's over time now. Yeah, is it okay to just? There's one church who, a few of those brothers came together to help one non-believers who had depression. They really take turns now. So every time they come to my clinic, I will be seeing a different brothers sending them. I happen to know that church. So every time one take turns. And I found that was really cool, really great, that they're actually willing to take that one extra steps to help that brother. And he's now an advocate for that church about depression. So that's one first suicide risk. Second one probably would be self-harm behavior. So self-harm behavior and suicide, you see, I separated them. It's a two different things. Suicide risk is I wanted to die, that is suicide. Self-harm behavior is no, it's just self-harm. So you will, if anyone have any self-harm behaviors and you notice some scars here and there, some bandages, then it comes in, you probably want to understand what is going on as well. So that is also another. Thirdly is, besides all the other symptoms, there's so many of them, but maybe when you notice someone is not able to function, he was functioning very well, but suddenly not functioning well, disheveled, not well kept. So those are also things that you probably want to step up and to ask what is going on. So functioning, not able to function as they used to be. Yeah, so that is also another indication. There are a lot others. Some of these are mentioned in various various illnesses will have various indicators, but generally those are the few. Two risk, and one is dysfunction. Besides that are all other symptoms. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes. Charges, right? Yeah, it's a valid questions. Yeah. I couldn't say it for other centers, but in Malaysia, when you seek help, there are private and governments to choose. I'm currently in both, so I know what is the benefits of government, and I also know what's the benefits of the private. Governments, of course, the charges, you get the less, pay less, and then the medications wise is actually quite good medications as well. Yeah, so there is not much of difference. Just in governments, normally you will be seeing more of medical officers. The specialists, rarely you will have times to have the chance to meet the specialists. And the MOs might be changing because every time you might be receiving a different MOs. So I'm answering in a more general terms, more wider perspective. So in government, in private, you can choose your own doctors. You will be seeing the same doctors every time, and the time to get help is normally faster. But saying so, when it's emergency, I would still encourage you to go to government hospital with emergency services, because that is immediate. Private clinic, they close after 5, right? So that is still the government emergency departments is still a very important place to register as the place to seek help. So private, of course, the charges. And the medications also, you can actually have a wider variety to choose from. Government, less variety. Private, have more varieties. But differences in the varieties also mean differences in the charges and cost of the medication. There are medications which are originals and more costly. There are medications who are just generic, less costly. So consultation fee per se, it very much depends on that clinic itself. Government actually gave us a guideline. So if we strictly follow the guideline, it's actually not charging too much. Yeah. So the guideline is about like this. And for a new case, first time coming, so it's set at around 250 for first consultations as a new case. Subsequent consultations will be shorter, but in real life, it's still quite long because it's still just the second sessions, third sessions, still a lot of things to learn and understand about the patients. So the second session can vary from 100 plus to 250, depending on the complexity, the duration of time spent to understand the whole situations. So if you reach to an hour, it can be around 250 as well. But if it's just 10 minutes, 5 minutes, it could be just around 100. Yeah, it is somewhere in between, and it's kind of somewhere in between. Yeah. So, but you could always negotiate with your doctor. Right. Clinics also have our CSR one. Yeah. But the CSR is depending on the doctor. You could always discuss with the doctor. So normally when it comes to a state where they say really financial is an issue, so and we'll refer to the government hospital. Yeah. So until when you're more stable, you know what medication you can take, then you could be referred to the government hospital to follow up continuation of care. But at the acute, you want to get the diagnosis right as soon as possible. You want to get the right medication and the right treatment plan in place. So with that, I would say getting a psychiatrist to help you set up that plan and initiate the treatment will be the most important part. Yeah. I wonder, did I answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Well, I have some brochures here. So from various companies that help us to that provide us here, so various medical illnesses. So you feel free to come and get some. And this is also some simple healthcare tips to take care of yourself, yeah, to help about self-care. So I think that's about it. I will pass the time back to Brother Payson.
Thank you so much, for sharing. I think we learned a lot in this afternoon, right? In the future we have been again more talking of more specific area. But I think this is our objective. I think we want to learn, want to aware how about ourselves. I think it's not about self-care. Such an important things that where can we start here as a person. And we can help others as well. So again, appreciate your presence this afternoon. Yeah. So yeah. Again, I think thanks so much for helping me the time when I really need help. So you never know when you need help. But I think one thing that he reminded me is I think one of the great breakthrough that time is I opened and acknowledged that I need help. And I didn't start to share that. I think God put me in a very difficult moment that time. Because we have been sent to Philippines. So we have prepared a lucky for Dr. Yu, but we are doing online transactions. Just so you know, we'll appreciate his presence this afternoon.
Thank you.
And I think feel free to have some words with him after this.
Yes.
Yeah. So shall we close in prayer? Can I invite Charles?
Lord, I'd like to thank you for this afternoon, Lord, that you brought Dr. Yu here, Lord, to share about his experiences and to create this awareness among our congregation. So we thank you for the blessing that he has been, not only to his clients, but to his church and the community, Lord God. So we pray that you bless him and his family, Lord God. We also pray for ourselves, Lord God, as moving forward, Lord God, help us to be more self-aware, Lord God, to care for ourselves. That is most important so that we can move forward and care for the people around us, Lord God. And most importantly, you commit all of us into your hands, that you help us, Lord God, to be the light and salt wherever we are, Lord God, so that in all that we do, we bring glory and honor to you. So we thank you for this time. We pray as we depart for this afternoon, you grant us a good rest and journey mercy. In Jesus' most precious name we pray.